Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. King Richard and AimBotCalvin facing off against 100T Kenneth and Parallax. Winner of this series gets put in a nice little spot at the top of the mountain here in our grand finals for week number 10. We talked about King Richard and AimBotCalvin. Where do they go? What's the strategy coming into this game after having no opportunities to make it into the grand finals? Now is their chance. Here is their opportunity versus a fresh opponent. And Taylor, where does it look like they're going to be landing here off the break?
A couple different options that we could be seeing here. Of course, the new location off to the right, but we also have, it looks like Pleasant Park to the left, judging based upon AimBotCalvin. But I think we're going to see maybe on the outskirts of that new town, and then, of course, for Kenneth and Parallax, looks like they might be hitting up Salty Springs just on the outside, so an area they're very familiar with going. So different strategies between the two. Honestly, though, you asked, what would King Richard AimBotCalvin need to do in order to fight off the 100T boys? And honestly, they should have stuck with them to kind of regulate the amount of kills that they get. Okay. But looking at it, King Richard AimBotCalvin, they're going to be in a very desolate area. Kind of interesting. I mean, I guess they're trying to cut off the rotation from the people coming in from Lazy Links or Lazy. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. This is a bit interesting. I think it's too slow of a start, to be quite honest.
I think I'm there with you, Reflections. They definitely needed to land with him if they kind of want to maintain just any sort of casual lead or even just try to stick with them in terms of overall elimination count. But King Richard and AimBotCalvin, veterans here in Friday Fortnite, so I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing here, at least on their own terms. And obviously we're seeing them land in Motel. Interesting call, to be 100% honest with you. I don't know if they're trying to get the cleanups after this over at Lazy Links, let those initial gunfights come in, and then just try to make their way down from there. Yeah. But it seems like that might be the route they're taking.
I think it almost has to be the route. Like, I mean, where else do you go? But there's Pleasant Park.
Junction, and then you just lose the game.
Yeah, I was just saying that there's no real, benefit by going anywhere but trying to pick up those kills in Lazy Links, those eliminations, rather. But, of course, regarding Kenneth the Parallax, this has been pretty much standard play for those who are just joining the stream. Kenneth the Parallax have been going here pretty much the entirety of the tournament, making their way towards Salty Springs, having a few, other options, but for the most part, kind of remaining with what has worked. And like I said, they took down FaZe the series prior to this. Might as well keep doing what's working for you.
Yeah, rightly so, as we'll see. Obviously, it's all dependent on how many people went Lazy Links. Of course, that was a little bit off to the beaten path when in terms of the bus, so not too sure how many players are going to be found there. But Kenneth and Parallax deep into Salty. They're going to be in bunker trying to kit up a little bit. But, of course, this has been the area they've dominated so far. When they rotate back towards the desert area, they usually find quite a bit of players. But overall, slow start for each individual ones. But 100T, got to say, they're probably going to be looking a lot better going into mid-game than King Richard and AimBotCalvin, but then again, they could prove me wrong.
And one thing, too, that we have to keep in mind of, granted, they do have quite a bit of time, 2 minutes and 20 seconds before the storm even starts to make its way forward. They also do have a long way to run. So if they don't find a bounce pad, if they don't, obviously, rifts are very prominent around the map right now as well. That could work out for them. But, in past, if they're trying to make their way here toward Lazy, it could be a little bit of an awkward scenario in this situation, maybe having to ignore Lazy Links if they actually can't find that spot, and then also try to advance their way forward. Thankfully, in Lazy, they are prone to obviously have those ATKs, right, the ability to kind of make your way forward. So it could be a prominent opportunity for them, as I believe one golf cart has been found, right? The ATK is already spotted there from King Richard. AimBotCalvin, though, might spot a nice little common assault rifle, nothing too nice, but also a little chest. So we'll see if he can find any loot to help them support what could be a Lazy Links push. Of course, at the exact same time, though, Kenneth the Parallax trying to get looted up, trying to get as many mats as possible, as I believe, half the lobby's already dropped. Not many eliminations, if really any at all, from our 4 players.
Yeah, 0 across the board. But as we're watching this Lazy Links push, I'm telling you, it's such a weird part of the map to even be coming from the outside. It looks like they're actually going to just vouch to go even south towards more so Loot Lake area, just trying to wait to see those teams if they can get them in crossing. I feel like at this point, they're actually playing the smartest role, which is just waiting to see if they can't get a collection of squads, maybe get them into engage within each other and then kind of poach those kills a little bit. Kenneth and Parallax, though, once again, just kind of meeting up here with King Richard. They're just actually on the other side, probably about 200 and 300 meters away now, like in Dusty Divot just waving at him. So,
there's a
look
rock
at that.
there. And it's not like that rock
needs
just
to put the
popped up
bifocals
either.
on there, Taylor.
Yeah, that rock didn't just pop up. They had to have seen that from a long distance. So
he's
got to rework some of those driving skills, King Richard.
Hey, can you switch while you're driving?
You can switch to another seat. You absolutely can.
It's game over with.
Yes, you absolutely
in solos, imagine just
take the rift.
Ooh, hit the dance, Richard.
So I've always, coming back to your point, I always thought about that, right? You'll be driving in solos and then switch over to passenger seat or the back and just mow the player
Easy
down like a
clips, man.
drive-by.
That's gonna be like
and then
one of the
come
most
straight
exciting
into
things to
driving
see.
again. I used to do that actually with the shopping cart when going down a hill because you could do that.
Yeah.
So pretty smart stuff. But obviously you got to be very talented to do that because it's pretty tough. Once you let go of that steering wheel, you have no idea where you're going to go. You could let go, be shooting a player, randomly just hit a rift, and then all of a sudden you're soaring through the air,
Yeah,
getting
like your
shot at
favorite
from.
rocket ship soaring through the sky.
That is it, man.
Little
That is it.
Einsteins.
Yeah, little
Sorry.
Einstein shout out there.
Shout out. Yeah, a great song that was obviously made. But keeping on track with the gameplay right now, AimBotCalvin trying to grab the height advantage to take down a few more players in his path, receives a shotgun blast to the chest, but survives it. And, of course, the official eliminations coming through, not only from Calvin, but also King Richard, as they are now even at 1 elimination apiece, and also, like I said, have the ability to grab that rift whenever they deem necessary. That's, like I said, one thing that's been kind of interesting throughout Week 5. I think more than the new locations, more than anything else, the rifts allow for so much creative play, so much rather difference when it comes down to a lot of strategies. In situations like King Richard and AimBotCalvin, we're saying, hey, going toward hotels is not a good idea whatsoever. If you find a rift, though, counter Kenneth the Parallax entering in toward Tilt the Towers right now, they're literally back into the game within just a matter of moments. I mean, you could argue going just toward one random building where there's maybe a player could be worth it if a rift is there in certain situations. It just totally changes up the entirety of gameplay that we expect from Friday Fortnite after just, like I said, one update, a new season added, and the overall strategies have changed, boys.
Gotta say, though, King Richard and AimBotCalvin land in hotels. They kind of didn't capitalize on their opportunity to cut off that lazy Lynx rotation.
Right.
Now they're going to be where Kenneth and Parallax are and trying to fight for the same amount of kills when they had a perfect opportunity to get a plethora of kills. So a little bit interesting landing there and then not fully committing, but obviously they know something that we don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see if both of these teams meet up. We wanted to see that off of the beginning. Eventually it is going to come to fruition. But one thing that does surprise me, Kenneth and Parallax finding 0 kills this late in the game, of course, approaching now 42 or 41 engagements now. Typically at this point, they at least have 5 to 6, right? But of course, they didn't commit themselves typically because normally they'll maybe go dusty. That's normal for them. But the push as far and tilted as they did, it's not like them. Normally, they like to cut off those rotations coming in from the desert area.
And one thing, too, Legion, I know that we've seen casting over King Richard, AimBotCalvin in multiple tournaments. This is also a squad, much like 100T, usually finding quite a bit of kills at this point in the game. We talked about their kind of slow-paced style. For both of these teams, of course, piggybacking off what Taylor just said, both squads playing very passive at the start, and this isn't like a normal thing for them. They're not really having too many engagements in their situations, but at the same time, this is not typical play from both of our squads, not just one over the other, but both teams. It's just kind of odd. I don't know, and I feel like they're not having a whole lot of opportunities to even spot too many
You're
players.
right, Landon. Usually, initially, King Richard and AimBotCalvin either, their biggest downfall is going down quickly whenever we see them lose out in matches. Which, as I spoke, Kenneth unfortunately does get knocked, waiting for his teammate Parallax if he can't get the assist. But Kenneth, take it out. The good news is only down by 2 eliminations now. With that being said, there's still a ton of engagements left in this game. But back to the point that you're making, Landon, is Richard, AimBotCalvin. Unfortunately, man, usually they do have more kills off the rip at this pace, but I didn't cast or curse him that time. I feel pretty good about that. I was talking about AimBot and
true.
King Richard, not Kenneth.
Kenneth might have heard you, though. Kenneth might have heard you.
Kenneth might be listening to my podcast in his ear right now that I don't have.
I was about to say, what?
Soon.
This is new to me.
I just talk about dolphins. I don't know, man. I just really like the
Dolphin podcast would be pretty cool.
I don't know.
Dolphin podcast.
Sonar.
Looks like ATK, an opportunity for Parallax to get a few clips maybe toward his highlight reels as needing to back up and not exactly sure where the zone is for the time. Looks like it's going to be on the outskirts of Salty Springs. So Tilt the Towers to Salty Springs, definitely a little bit of a jaunt that Parallax is going to have to make. Not a whole lot of time, but if he can maybe take down a few of these players, maybe even grab that ATK Taylor, he can be put in a much better position. But, of course, receiving some shots, players coming in from the zone, playing that gatekeeper role, and he's the sole man in this situation. A permanent 1v2 for the rest of the game, taking down players, but receiving shots from multiple angles. Is this 2 different squads? Is this just one watching over the other? An awkward spot for Parallax to really be in for the time.
It definitely is. And, of course, though, he has to pull a typical gamer. And what I mean by that, he's got to support his player that just dropped a little bit earlier. But like you said, I think there is, in fact, 2 separate squads facing him, but he's got a nice little peak advantage there. Did he hit that? I couldn't tell on his screen. I don't think he did. But still, Storm right against his back, trapped overall. He's got a lot of loot down there, but you see him
bounce pad
having
as well.
to build up. Yeah, Willie used a bounce pad, but luckily, I think those players did, in fact, just drop down the hill to lose that height advantage. Kind of an interesting play. Bounce pad coming into effect, but he gets stuck in midair as he goes
on his calf.
As he goes off the bounce pad. Now, incredibly weak, 55, only 1 mini in his inventory. He's got to be careful, but on the other end of the spectrum, King Richard and AimBotCalvin in a fight themselves. They look like they're faring a little bit better, but as I say that, King Richard, the stink bomb coming in as he got a little bit stuck there, also taking a lot of damage. Down to 19 HP overall, building up, trying to be careful. AimBotCalvin raining down bullets from the sky to add some support. But both of these teams fighting it out, both in very interesting situations. Can King? No, and he does go down. Does he get thirsted?
He does get thirsty, but you saw him miss that. He missed 2 taps, actually, with the tac shotgun, unfortunately. And at this point, you got Calvin up top. No heals in your back pocket for King Richard as well. No mats. And that's one of the things that we always talk about here in these tournaments is if you've got to make sure that your mat maintenance is on point. Parallax actually almost in a very bad situation, similarly outside of Tilt, that had about 9. Managed to collect about 300-400 mats off his body. But King Richard now taken out here, I believe, and it's just going to be Calvin and Parallax in a 1v1 to see who can take the lead. But those dualies being brought out again with the pop shot. Let's see if Calvin can get some nice ones out. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Look at those shots there, Landon. Look at those shots.
What accent was that?
This is a Wisconsin dad proud of his kid out here.
I thought it was either Wisconsin or Australian there for a few moments.
No, definitely not Australian. I can't.
Well, at the beginning it sounded a little bit like Australian. Just a little bit, I don't know.
The many personalities of
reference or
coming
something.
out. But of course, a 1v1 situation, obviously a little bit more testy overall. Parallax, AimBotCalvin having to face off against each other, not going to be next to each other whatsoever. So basically, at this point, they're going to be just facing off against full squad after squad after squad. Got to be careful. But looks like we see Calvin. He's going to be in a little bit of a bad situation, taking some damage. A squad pushing forward. He's going to have to backtrack, get some mats to kind of kit up to go for the push once again. But definitely a little bit of a better opportunity. Obviously, when we saw Kenneth drop a little bit earlier, we were kind of worried for Parallax. Now in this 1v1, we're going to see a lot closer second game going into round number 2 as right now only King Richard and AimBotCalvin leading by 2, not a lot. So, just winners finals is exactly where it needs to be.
Indeed it is. It's kind of nice for both of our players who are kind of in this particular spot to not be down the way that they are, to have, like I said, to only have like a 2-kill difference between both of these teams is obviously pretty nice. But right now, looking specifically at AimBotCalvin's screen, has the opportunity to take someone down, of course, is just on the edge of where that zone's about to enter in toward, as he does have a player just in his line sight trying to pepper him with a few suppressed SMG shots from afar, taking down those walls with little to no effort whatsoever, going for the aggressive play. And oh my goodness, I have no idea how he's building at such a rapid pace. Fantastic play from AimBotCalvin, but he loses most of his HP, down to 37 in total, and has to go quickly back toward another med kit. Also, keeping in mind, look at the top right of his screen right now. Red arrow coming in. That's going to be Parallax. He could easily pick up one of these kills, goes for the edit, and realizes how valuable this elimination could be, especially keeping in mind how close we are related to this game right now. And not believe he's going to spot him for the time being, as what a very scary situation Calvin was just in here, guys.
Yeah, and you saw Parallax with that nice snipe, too. I mean, it was kind of one of those situations where he's thinking to himself, yeah, Calvin's going to bait this guy out. Luckily for Calvin, man, Parallax comes in and snipes him, which gives him enough time to at least set that medkit off. I honestly think that guy was confused as to where he went to begin with.
Yeah.
Probably didn't think he just jumped off and took about, 65 dead. I see that meme going around basically telling you how much fall damage you can take in general. I don't know if you've seen those from those builds in Playground, but I'm sure these pros have been studying up anyways. They know naturally. I think one of the things that I thought was crazy actually from Parallax running away was just him building that millimeter off of the side of the mountain. Just even those slight little things that help you move and bounce quicker are just something that if you want to learn to be the best, definitely check out these players, man. This is what we're here for on Friday Fortnite, to see gameplay like this. Spots another player, almost gets the dink. See if you can't get and sneak up on these guys in the barn. Of course, we're actually going to be looking at Parallax down there, and Parallax actually knocks one with a sniper rifle.
He definitely does, as both on the hills in hot pursuit of the opponent straight ahead, knowing desperately that they need to find these last remaining kills. Dropping from the tree is, in fact, going to be Calvin. Can't secure the knock. Finally gets it. Player straight ahead. Both of them going for it. Takes a lot of damage, down to a total of 16, but I believe he did secure both of those kills. So we're going to see them both going neck and neck. Of course, he's having to take a lot of time out to kind of med up a little bit. He did have a first aid kit. Doesn't use it, though. Uses the bandages. So we're going to see now both of them trying to heal up. Both of them in 1-by-1s. As how many players do we have remaining? Only 7 still. and the score is so incredibly close. Both teams need to push forward here. Game number 2 is going to be so close.
It is indeed, of course. Like I said, for the time being, last few engagements will be inside of Fatal Fields, and it looks like the reason why he doesn't grab that med kit is he actually does realize the apple tree is just on the outside of this. Pretty nice little, little find to have. Fatal Fields, not a whole lot of players, but there's crops, right? A lot of,
Sure love orchards. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely,
Nothing like some fresh raspberries and a couple apples just really set off your day. And then
yeah.
don't
Just chilling on
actually
the
eat them, but you put them
tractor,
all
you
in a
know?
pie, and then
Oh,
add
there
some
you go.
sugar and glaze to it, and then that's how you eat fruit.
It's a heart attack also waiting to happen.
That's how you
too,
eat fruit here in America. So anyways, let's see what he's got in your back pocket. 100. HP finally does get it off there with the apples as well. I think I just heard somebody's reaction to what that conversation was in the background, actually. So.
Oh, boy. Oh, it looks like actually on quickly looking at AimBotCalvin's screen, we saw a few towers just off in the distance. A few of those shots actually coming through from Parallax, receiving a few of those shots. And right now, if you're AimBotCalvin in a situation, you could be thinking here, Taylor, do I try to make the aggressive play? Do I try to even watch over Parallax, who actually has a player right in front of him? Or do I try to go for the sneak rush from the flank? It looks like for the time being, trying to steal these kills out from underneath Parallax, receiving a few shots, taking down a few of his shields. And right now, Parallax is just trying to find an alley, trying to find an opportunity, a route to survive, receiving constant bullets. Of course, we talk about both players in 1v4 squad situations, putting down the ramp, trying to receive a few of those shots, trying to essentially use those mats to absorb a little bit of that damage. Of course, player from the top side perspective, rocking up that pyramid, trying to grab as much of the loot as possible, puts down the trap to try to have that player come in for a narrow death. But Parallax still from above has the heavy shotgun in his back pocket, trying to grab a few of these shields and re-engage. Keeping in mind, Calvin not far off as well. Parallax still up for the time being. Still 7 players up, and we'll see how they try to both aggress the situation.
Yeah, I'm surprised Calvin hasn't moved in already, knowing how many engagements or how crazy it is over there. He had plenty of opportunities to kind of push in and steal some of those kills, but Parallax stuck in this 1-by-1. Now, Calvin, finally on your screen, seeing his perspective, what's going on, dinging some shots just up ahead. Of course, another player pushing just above him, so he's not in a better situation at all. Stuck in that same situation as Parallax was, so both team members trying to stay alive. Teams they're going against seem to be relatively solid. Now, Parallax has taken over Calvin's role. He's trying to get on that flank himself to try and pick up what Calvin was trying to do. Now, at this point, what do? Not a lot of ground. You see straight ahead of him, it's nothing but open areas. Do you go with what Landon? Landon, you came up with the strategy, used a reverse ramp push, right? Very smart. You put those ramps in front of you, obviously gives you some defense, and you can continue to push forward, get underneath them. But, of course, once you get there, you got to take over the high ground. At this point, it's a tricky situation.
He's also he's really short on mats. I mean, you're looking at Parallax in the bottom right, maybe about 220 combined. Of course, usually when we see these guys, they're hoping to have about, 600 mats in their inventory total for these build battles. But really, I think Calvin's playing the smartest role here, which is just baiting and waiting for these players to pass him, trying to sneak up. Hopefully they get an engagement. He can just go in and get those knocks and pretty much insta-kills. So decides to actually shoot, but he does have that blue SMG. That silent sub is a monster. It's literally a laser beam. Just melts everybody.
He has 800 bullets in the clip as well, trying to respond back with it. Hunting rifle in for a suppressed SMG. And nice and deadly combo, that's for certain. But here comes the rush. Here comes AimBotCalvin, of course, on our screen, highlighted for the time being. We'll see how we can do when it comes down to the spotlight. Keeping in mind, he and King Richard, first time ever they would make it into a grand finals. A lot on the line for this two. Finally have made their way to the top side of the bracket. And here is their opportunity, wanting to have somewhat of a lead heading in toward this map number 2. Some nice shots coming forward from Parallax as we have seen a stalemate for the time being, boys. Other squad having no issue with not aggressing, at least off the break, but it looks like it could be Calvin who has spotted someone around him, having the ability to maybe come around the corner, spot someone underneath the stairs and says, hey, you have no idea how revealed you are.
Oh, yes,
the trap.
Do it!
And is going to absolutely humiliate him. It looks like the responding shot along with the trap will take him down and say goodbye to one more player. Now taking a look at Parallax's Calvin. trying to add up the score for he and King Richard. Parallax can respond back with one of his own. Player building up some odd ramps, odd choice of strategy, but Parallax is happy to find as many as he will be offered. Heavy shotgun from above, especially the legendary one at this. A very deadly weapon to have in your possession, especially like Parallax.
Now, do you campfire at this point, Taylor? What do you think? I mean, he's got a campfire in the back pocket.
I don't think you can. I don't think you could slow your pace at this point. You know Calvin's going to be pushing up on these few remaining kills. At this point, you just have to go for it because you know you're going to be going into the other round. Hey, you might be a couple kills down, but you can kind of waver that a little bit, maybe even tie it up. But what a snipe from Calvin to push in, showing his dominant aggression coming in overall, getting that high ground, even over Parallax, to take it over and spot the last remaining players. As we do know that there is currently, I believe, 1 or 2 knocks so far. Still a couple players remaining. He's going to go for the thirst, gets it, and now it's all about finding the last remaining players. Now, guys, I just want to remind you, this is still game number 1. Yeah. What a battle for these overall final remaining kills. This has got to be hands down one of the closest battles, one of the best battles I've seen yet in Friday Fortnite in terms of length overall. The team they're playing, this is a solid team.
And one thing that I would bring up to the viewers at home as well, the recent circle at the very end has changed a little bit, Taylor. Talk to the viewers a little bit about how that has obviously kind of changed the overall style of kind of playing more slow. It's about you kind of movability, kind of the maneuverability around the map till the ending of zone 7, 8, and 9?
Yeah, zone 7, 8, and 9 obviously do switch as we see Parallax is in fact going to be dropped. Calvin's going to go in for the little tag up there. He's going to get the knock. Of course, though, like you said, it's no longer you cannot camp inside these final circles. Of course, before it used to just be a camp fest towards the end. Now it's going to be overall 7, 8, 9. Circle's going to be moving out, which forces players to rotate out of the storm, of course, and then get their overall ground. But Calvin showing off that new dance, really liking it so far. I believe you get that with the battle pass. But what a battle for those last remaining kills. Yeah. Calvin, of course, though, is going to get a little bit of the upper hand, but that's only game number 1. They'll have a lead going into the second game. But, man, you talk about it. That was great. 4 kills overall. That's a squad wipe. But interesting starts on both sides, right? 100T, they went salty, then went dusty. Kind of, the same strat they've been doing. But I am so surprised to see King Richard and AimBotCalvin go over towards hotels, back off of...
I feel like it was so long ago.
I felt like it was
3 days ago.
This was literally one of the longest matches I think we've commentated
definitely.
Over.
It was like, toward the end, there was 9 other players alive.
That's the smallest circle we've ever been a part of here for Friday Fortnite.
Probably.
At least for my casting and commentating. I haven't seen it get down to, what was that, 8 for that one? Or 7, 8, 9? Or was it 7?
It probably 6 because I didn't see the circle rotating out of the storm at that point yet. So it's probably around 6.
Generally in the game so quickly that you're not expecting them to engage in.
We're usually like in zone 5, around like zone 4 or 5, kind of toward the end of things, just because like it's usually like a wide open map. They just find them in a bush somewhere, But
how about that trap kill though?
Yeah, trap kill was nice.
Bye.
Yeah, very solid plays coming from Calvin.
Baited.
I don't remember how many eliminations there were left when it came down to Fatal Fields, but I know at least 3 of those were at the hand of AimBotCalvin toward the end.
18.
Instead of Fatal Fields?
Well, I know when they were pushing, at least late in the game, there was at least 18, but I don't know when the Fatal Fields were right. I know at one point it was at least 12, right? And it was pretty
that
high.
That final 9 was literally the longest
I've
ever seen anything in my entire... Like, it was like every remaining squad of 3 was just trying to hide in their respective cabins. It just was summertime at Grandpa's farm, and unfortunately, they're all gone. So
there's always next time, right? They can always just spawn in for another opportunity with good old G-Paw. But loading in here for game number 2, right? Regarding our strategies, at least off of it was pretty slow pace for King Richard and AimBotCalvin. Do you think we see more of that heading into map number 2? Because I think, in their opinion, right, going toward hotels, looking for the rotation of players coming in from Lazy, didn't work out. I think they knew that in the back of their minds. They're like, okay, we're thinking we're going to go slow at the start, then quickly kind of aggress these things, maybe take those ATKs, kind of maneuver throughout the map. Didn't really work out in their favor. So do you think that they maybe continue on with that strategy? Do you think they kind of change things up, maybe even go toward a more aggressive location?
That's the thing, right? I thought to battle 100T, they would have to be more aggressive, obviously showing they didn't have to be at least off the start.
Right.
But we're definitely going to see 100T be way more aggressive off the start here, if I had to guess, right? They did that when they were going against FaZe. Even if they had the lead, it didn't matter. They still dropped it more aggressively. I think we see a desert drop, maybe even a little outside of Lazy. I'm definitely thinking more aggressive overall. We're not going to see Salty from them, but then again, I'm usually wrong as a caster. That's okay, though. I'm just giving out my prediction. But King Rich and AimBotCalvin, they need to be more aggressive overall during the start of this drop. But looking at the bush route, it does go right over the desert, or excuse me, go to the little, right down the center, actually. So maybe Salty, like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will, in fact, go Salty. But a couple different options. Where do you guys see them going?
I think Richard and Calvin, I'm not even going to specify where I think they're going to be going, but I'm just thinking in general, like, it's going to need to be in a more populated area. They need to play their game, and 100 Thieves for the entire day have just been playing at their own pace. They've been playing at their own speed, and for as long as video games have been around, especially in a competitive format, it's kind of like if you've got momentum, just carry it on. Don't slow down. You've already knocked FaZe into the losers bracket today. You've knocked out some other formidable opponents at this point. Just keep playing at the pace. If that's really quickly and you're doing really well, just keep playing that way. No need to slow it down and try to play a game that you're not ready for. And that's what King Richard and Calvin are also so good at, man. Is they just play however they want to play and land where they want to land, and they play it really fun. So that's why it's such a great duo to watch.
It almost looks like maybe kind of like a Salty retail drop. Retail wouldn't surprise me either, given the fact that the battle pass.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to bring up that would be a very prominent location regarding, like I said, the weekly challenges, regarding the location that it's at being very, very close to, like I said, those dunes, that desert portion as well. So it looks like we're going to see, kind of dive into exactly what the locations are going to be. It looks like at least tempting toward a retail push, maybe the outskirts of retail right now for 100T. And it looks like for King Richard and AimBotCalvin, maybe something along those lines as well, maybe following in suit as we leave all four players at least landing on the outskirts of some type of area. It looks like for KR and AimBot, they're going to be on the outskirts of Salty Springs. So pretty much similar play for both of our squads. However, you could argue the more aggressive play of the two would be 100T based on the fact of Retail Row's history and the challenges that obviously follow suit with it as well.
Definitely so, taking over that Salty drop. Of course, we see Kenneth and Parallax usually go there, but they're going to have a lot of company at their current location. Of course, they have retail there. They have the desert to their back, so a lot of potential for a lot of kills, at least to come back. 4 kills down. It's all about how is King Rich and AimBotCalvin going to react. Already an engagement happening as Kenneth is going to pop some shots into the player just ahead. But inventory looking pretty decent. They're going to go for the push. Let's see how it works out for them, Legion.
Yeah, let's see how it works out for him. Let's talk about the drum gun that he finds almost instantaneously, followed by a blue bolt. That's a pretty great combo to have right off the rip. Obviously, the drum gun has become such a fundamental part of Fortnite now since its launch. It just feels like everybody's got that in the back pocket. We were talking last week about how kind of the meta's changed a little bit, right? Where you're not seeing these shotguns anymore, obviously, with that removal of the double pump. Man, if you've got one of these drum guns in your back pocket, it's so great up close. I feel like you've almost got an advantage with that spray up close, but you're going to see Parallax go down as Kenneth is just going to try to maintain some health. It does heal him. He's got bandages in this back pocket as well for him, and that sniper rifle also in the pocket.
There's also a team who rocks the bounce pad to try to get up close and personal. Very close quarter situation. Drop down to, 4, 5 HP for Kenneth. Very risky situation. Parallax is down, and now Kenneth is left to pick up the pieces. An opportunity to see the grand finals after taking down FaZe Clan could be at risk. The squad is being incredibly aggressive right now, trying to find some meds, trying to find that chug jug, and really just trying to stay alive. All the pressure is on Kenneth. Going for the chug jug. Here comes the rush, and just like that, Retail Row will be the final opportunity for 100 Thieves, as now King Richard and AimBotCalvin will see the rest of this game by themselves, 2v0.
Wow.
And of course, we do bring up as well, they can kind of roam throughout the map and obviously celebrate. Why? Because they came in with a 4 elimination advantage, as they are now booked for the grand finals here, guys.
I'm proud of my boys. King Rich and AimBotCalvin finally making it to the finals. Yeah. At least they secured 7.
We all did, right? we went 0 for 3.
Actually, yeah.
Going with 100T.
That is a fact.
Is respected, right? They took down FaZe Clan. Like, that was unbelievable that they managed to do that coming to the grand finals. King Rich and AimBotCalvin, very, very talented team, but you could argue in past weeks, you can't debate the stats, right? Losing to TSM at a very consistent rate. Losing to Ninja Nysteria, consistent rate. Losing to FaZe Clan, a consistent rate. A team who's lost to FaZe Clan, you could argue, from week to week. The team who just took down FaZe Clan, you could argue there's no competition. 100T should easily walk away with this. So I think for us, we get a little bit of a pass here, right, chat? I think we should get a little bit of a pass. I'm sure most of the chat are all
we don't get a pass, chat.
We really don't. I think most of the chat was also kind of agreeing with us, though, on 100T probably closing out this game.
It's possible.
I'm saying upset, for sure. Upset when it comes down to this game.
It definitely is. And 2, you have to look.